Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the Temp Coffee Podcast. This is Tim Howard, the owner of Blind Coffee Roasters, and directly across the way from me is...
Keri Elliott, owner of Elliott and Murray Coffee Roasters.
Nice to see you, Keri. How you doing today?
It's great. How are you, Tim?
You know what? I'm ready for the holiday season. How about you?
Oh, man, I am so ready for it. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, me too. Well, we might get to that later, but I think today, how about talking about interesting coffees? What do you think?
I think so. I think that'd be a great topic, and Tim and I are going to be talking about our favorite interesting coffees.
Okay, so I don't think you can start that without talking about what process means.
Yeah. So process basically is we're talking about the coffee shrub or the coffee tree itself. A lot of people don't know that the coffee bean is actually a seed of a cherry. And so Tim and I are going to break down how the depulp process happens, the depulping process. And there's various ways on how that goes.
Or cleaning process.
Cleaning process.
Yeah, everybody understands cleaning process. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Depulping, cleaning process. We're going to break this down for you.
Right, thank God for that editing pencil and knife.
Yep.
In process, the idea is the same through all of the four major ways you can process coffee or remove pulp, remove fruit. Generally speaking, those break down to four different kinds. There's washed.
Natural.
There's honey process.
Anaerobic.
So each of these are a little bit different. I'm going to start with washed. Now, if you imagine a large cheese grater underwater, and you imagine a bunch of cherries floating across the cheese grater, right? The cheese grater will remove the fruit, and the water washes it. Now, what that does, it leaves the pit of the fruit. And the fruit itself will actually float down the way and is either taken as waste or it's made into cascara. Now, washing coffee generally leaves no fruit element at all. It generally removes all of that, and that's washed.
So, natural. When we're talking about natural process, really, it's basically the cherry that's plucked off the coffee tree, the shrub. It's laid down on a mat, on a bed, on the farm, and natural fermentation takes place around 45 to 60 days. And so what you have is these folic acids that are developing and creating this fermentation process naturally from the fruit, so you're going to tend to have a sweeter bodied coffee.
That is a great explanation. Honey process is like washed, but what they do is they use fermenting coffee cherry juice as the removal element instead of water. It saves about 70% of water usage. The Costa Ricans came up with that a couple of years ago. It's been all the rage the last couple of years, and it makes a nice heavy-bodied, fruity, sweet coffee.
Yes, it absolutely does. It has like a really nice syrupy, juicy, like a mellow juiciness to it. That's probably what I can describe.
Yeah, it comes, they've been talking about different colors of honey process. There's gold, red, and black. And those three colors generally indicate how ripe the fruit is when it's converted into this fermentation bath.
And with the honey process, that leads into the anaerobic process. Now, the anaerobic process is something that's actually fairly new to the specialty coffee scene. A lot more farmers are actually taking this on. And when we talk about anaerobic process, it's a anaerobic fermentation that takes place. So what the farmers do is that they go ahead and, again, they harvest the coffee cherries and they put it in this special fermentation tank. And in this fermentation tank, they draw out the oxygen from the tank. And what that allows is that this anaerobic fermentation takes place and you get all these different wild fruit notes that are coming out of the bean itself. And during that process, you're also going to get some really nice sugars that are going to be drawn out. And if you ever had an anaerobic coffee, it is definitely wild. It's very unique and very different.
I tried one the other day that actually tasted like cardamom and cinnamon. It blew my mind.
What?
Seriously.
No way.
Way.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, do we have it at Drop Temp?
Why, yes, we do.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I totally need to try it. See, this is the cool thing about us coffee nerds. Like, we get all excited about these new different coffees that are just like, oh, I need a cup. This sounds so good. So anaerobic coffee that can pull out cinnamon and cardamom. Is that right?
Yep.
Oh man, that's really up my alley.
All right. So let me ask you something, Keri. What is your favorite weird, out of the normal, people don't expect it country?
India.
Really? All right. So tell me about your India coffee.
Okay, so India coffee has been pretty amazing. Backstory with me ever trying out a cup of India coffee was when I was doing home roasting at home before I started Elliot and Murray. I was experimenting with coffee beans, and I saw that there was coffee from India, and I'm like, I've never had coffee from India, so this is unique and different. So I bought some beans, I roasted it, and it was a really delicious cup of coffee. I currently have India coffee at my shop that I offer to my customers as a single origin offering.
Tell me a little bit about how that tastes.
So the taste of the India coffee is really different. It has notes of nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon, but you also have this really nice black tea body with a mellow lemon acidity. When you brew it as a pour over, that lemon acidity really jumps out. But if you do it as an espresso, you really get more of the earthy spice notes that come out, and the body of it is so delicious.
That sounds delicious. And of course, you do have that at drop temp.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. One of my favorite places, and nobody ever talks about, is Puerto Rico.
We were talking about this the other day. Yeah, you got to let the listeners know about Puerto Rican coffee. This is exciting stuff. So yeah, tell them what you were telling me the other day.
Well, Puerto Rican coffee, generally speaking, is a very earthy coffee, but it's extremely low in acidity, and it generally tends to be a more developed bean, a larger bean. For some reason, the soil they have there kind of grows everything at a faster rate. I'll tell you what's really amazing about that is the softness, or the way it doesn't burn your tongue when it goes over your tongue as a taste. It may not have any defined notes, although I think roasted nuts is a really accurate description of what Puerto Rican coffee tastes like. But where it really shines is as an espresso, because there's no bite at all. Really, really gentle espresso. Makes amazing drinks. If you ever have a chance to try Puerto Rican coffee, we will have it eventually, but we don't have it right now.
I know.
Yeah.
I have not tried coffee from Puerto Rico, and I would love that. That'd be really amazing.
Well, we are working on that. Hint, hint, hint. So it's coming.
Yeah, we can make some Cubano shots with it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
If you guys haven't had a Cubano shot, basically, from my understanding of it, my buddy Kenny from Paper Tiger Roasters introduced me to Cubano shots. What he did is that he took his portafilter, put sugar in the raw in it, and he pulled a shot, and you get this really nice mellow body coffee, but a real nice sweetness to it. So for you guys who have not tried a Cubano shop, if your local coffee shop offers it, take it.
This sounds awesome. I'll tell you what, I have another one kind of in that chain. Do you mind if I jump in with the next one?
No, absolutely.
All right, so next one for me is Haiti. Nobody ever gives Haiti enough credit. Haiti is, in fact, the oldest and longest growing country for coffee in the Western Hemisphere. They started that in 1640. It's amazing, right?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The French brought it over and cultivated it. And then through time, when Haiti became an independent nation, they got rid of all their coffee plants. Unfortunately, they made them the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But recently, the last 40 years, they've been growing coffee. That coffee is coming out in a nice, full-bodied, chocolatey, like baker's chocolate, with this finish that is kind of, I'm going to say, luxurious. That sounds pretty extreme, right? Like it's almost velvety on the tongue. It's
exotic.
It is exotic. The coffee is exotic. I love that stuff. So good. We do have that at drop temp, by the way. Okay, Keri, what's yours? What's your next one?
One Coffee is our neighbor to the south here in the States. That would be Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think coffee from Mexico needs more representation. just like its neighbor, Guatemala. Mexico has a really nice coffee. So you have different regions, states in Mexico that grow coffee, especially you're talking about Chiapas, which is pretty close to the Guatemalan border. So they share kind of like that mountain region where coffee is grown near Guatemala. Then you also have Nayarit, which is a little further east. I would say near Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close to there. So Nayarit, Chiapas, those are really two amazing areas where coffee is grown, and I've had coffee from both of those regions. Mexico, man, coffee from the Chiapas region, you're going to get a lot more of the brown sugar kind of baker's chocolate notes coming out of that. And that's, again, because Chiapas is so close to the Guatemalan border and with the mountain range.
They grow a bunch of sugar in Guatemala. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. So you're going to get a really nice brown sugar chocolate, sweet-bodied, whereas Nayarit, you're going to get more fruit notes out of it. Now, with Nayarit coffee, I've had a natural processed coffee from Nayarit and a honey processed. So tend to get a lot more fruitier notes out of it. You're going to get notes of apple, cinnamon. Again, that brown sugar body really kicks into it. And no matter what region of Mexico you get your coffee, you're going to experience low acidity. So there isn't that sharp, crisp citrus acidity that you will find, like, say, in some Guatemalan coffees or even Colombian coffee. It is super mellow. If you're looking for a coffee that is going to be super mellow, low acidity, Mexico, man, great coffee.
There's been a lot of good coffee coming out of Mexico lately, no doubt. That natural from Nayarit we had, that was an amazing coffee.
Yes, I have a lot of people who are from Mexico really enjoy the coffee that we're offering from Mexico, and they really enjoy that from Elliot and Murray.
You know, we've had that from time to time, blind coffee roasters.
Yes,
too.
that's true.
And we've had a bunch of good reviews come back on that coffee. Like, we need to get more of that.
Yes. Yeah. You know, the great thing about us, even though we have two separate coffee roasting companies, we think alike when it comes to coffees, and our customers have very similar tastes when it comes to coffee. So we're very careful of what we select when it comes to our coffees. If we don't like it, we know our customers are not going to like it. But if we enjoy it, we know definitely for sure our customers are going to enjoy it, because we share that with our customers. They get excited, and you know what? They end up falling in love with it.
No, I'll tell you what, I don't like making coffee or roasting coffee that I wouldn't drink myself. There have been times that maybe I've done that. Not recently, not in the last 10 years, maybe. I hope. I really like putting coffee that I enjoy drinking into someone else's hands and someone else's cup, because it's nice to hear what they have to say. And even if they don't agree with me, I love the input of that. It's such a subjective thing to tasting, I think. You know, I really enjoy doing that. Well, let me bring up my third country. What do you think? Is that okay?
Go for it.
All right. So I'm going to give a vote to Peru. And I'm going to give a vote to Peru because wasn't that long ago that Peru was getting no respect in South America? But the reality is that it's one of the fastest growing, higher quality coffees. Cupping scores have gone up from low 80s up into mid to high 80s. And recently, the best coffees coming out of there are really chocolatey, almost a chocolate bomb. They haven't gone as far into the natural process. We're getting a lot of good washed coffees from Peru right now. Makes great espresso. Get a lot of chocolate notes out of that. Mild, maybe roasted almonds, something like that. Softer. It's got more body, though, and it's got a little bit of a citrus bite to it at the very end, because that tends to come in the wash side of this and the quality of the soil. But I'll tell you what, it makes a great espresso. Great espresso.
And you know what's really awesome about coffee from Peru? It has a really nice creamy body.
Yeah, yes. I couldn't agree more. Really feels that way. It's funny you can actually describe a coffee going over your tongue as creamy or velvety or luxurious, but I think that really applies to most
exotic.
Exotic. When was the last time you had exotic on your tongue? Never mind. Don't answer that. Oh boy, skip. We're gonna edit that.
We're talking about coffee.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh man, are we ready to go to Vietnam, or should we not go? Never mind.
We should.
All right, go ahead, hit it.
Okay. So the next coffee I wanted to talk about is Vietnam.
Yeah, good choice.
Yes. Vietnam usually has a wash process, so you're going to get a nice clean cup of coffee from a Vietnam coffee, but there's also been experimenting on honey process coffees as well. Vietnam is kind of evolving as far as what they're offering into the specialty coffee scene.
I have some trivia about Vietnam for you.
Go for it.
Vietnam is the second leading producer of coffee in the world, right behind Brazil.
That's awesome. Yeah, Vietnam coffee is, I think it's underrated for what it is. It offers a lot. Vietnam coffee has a unique sugarcane sweetness to it because sugarcane is also one of those crops in Vietnam that is grown just as much along with peppercorns. So sugarcane, peppercorns, you have Robusta and Arabica coffee farms as well that is grown in Vietnam. It makes a great espresso. It can be an awesome pour over, but I think Vietnam coffee really, really shines as an espresso, or you can use a phi, which is another way to brew coffee. And a phi is traditionally used in Vietnam, and you can make Vietnamese coffee, iced coffee, with evaporated or condensed milk.
Condensed milk, the sweet stuff.
Yes. So
good.
So good.
So good.
If you haven't had coffee from Vietnam, it's really great. And as a matter of fact, we know Lan Marbury, she is here in Oregon, and her and her family own a coffee farms in Vietnam called Bon Mao.
Yeah, can we give a shout out to Bon Mao, Oregon? How about that? We love Lan. Such a nice person. The coffee's outstanding.
Oh, Lan's a homie, man. Like, if you guys have not met Lan, she is the sweetest, most down-to-earth person. Her family works really, really hard to grow really exceptional coffee. They do peppercorn farms as well. Super, super awesome. And then, by the way, she's a great cook, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. For sure, more than you know. There are more stories about that. Lan is an exceptional cook, and her coffee is fantastic. Oh, by the way, we have to give a shout out to the pepper that they make from Bon Mao, Oregon. Great table edition, super yummy.
Yeah, it's super awesome. And one of these days, we'll bring Lan onto the show.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
we could do a segment and talking about direct trade coffee, which we'll save for another episode.
I've got to say that we've covered 6 really good, unique countries that coffee's coming out of these days. We try to offer all of those at one point in time or another at Drop Temp. And I think it's important to state that we are always bringing in new and interesting coffees.
Because we are interesting people.
There are way more interesting countries. We just want to give a highlight of the things that we are doing right now that are interesting, things that make us think about coffee being a little different than what we expect.
Exactly. Because a lot of people, when you go to the grocery store, whether you go to a local coffee roaster, coffee shop, you'll traditionally see coffees from Central or South America. And the most popular coffees you will see, Guatemala, Brazil, Colombia.
Yep.
And Ethiopia as well.
Yep.
So people see those different countries, and those are gaining popularity in the States. But if we can allow you to be informed and open up your mind and let you know there's great coffee out there in different places, it doesn't have to be just Central and South America and Ethiopia. There's a lot more to it.
I really like when we can create a coffee that people taste and didn't expect coffee to taste like that. I'm trying for that every single time that I roast coffee. I want something different and unique, something that really stands out.
Absolutely. As us roasters, we want you to be so wowed about the coffee that you drink. Something that you can enjoy and savor every single morning. It's changing that coffee ritual each morning with a unique, different cup of coffee that you can actually pair with. Like, you can have a red honey processed Dominican coffee, and you could pair it with apple slices, and it could be the best pairing in the world.
Speaking of pairings, can we talk about Christmas dessert pairings?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so I want to give it my first real suggestion as a nice medium roasted Guatemalan coffee to go with pumpkin pie. I think nutty and chocolatey. I think it makes a great way to wash down pie. All right, how about you?
Wow. Let's see. So when it comes to fruitcake, yeah, fruit
Need something to
right.
wash that down. Yeah.
So when I'm thinking fruitcake, what coffee would pair really well with it? I would say Sumatra.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah, fruitcake and Sumatra coffee. I know we haven't touched base with Sumatran coffee, but I feel like a lot of people know about Sumatra coffee, that we didn't include that in the conversation. But the reason why I bring Sumatra out is because you have a nice full body complex notes. You got cinnamon, allspice, very similar to what we described about India, which India and Sumatra are part of that Indonesian region, so they do have their similar qualities. But Sumatra is going to be a little bit more earthy, more complex. So when you add something like a slice of fruitcake, it pairs really well with that.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think that we're all getting hungry and expecting our desserts to come, but I think dinner's got to come first. And since we're all planning for Christmas, you can add this shit any way you want. It's all good.
Yeah.
I want to draw it to an end. Let's do that. What do you think?
Okay.
All right.
So we'll do the closing remarks then.
Yeah. So let's do our shout outs. I want to give a shout out again to Land Marbury in Baumau, Oregon for some of the best Vietnamese coffee you've ever had. Thank you, Land, and thank you, Baumau, Oregon.
I also want to give a shout out to Royal Coffee. And the reason why I want to give a shout out to Royal Coffee is because you were able to source coffee from India. And it's really awesome that they are able to get the coffee for us roasters to be able to share with our customers. And another shout out I have is to East Edge Coffee. They are based out of Sumatra. They're another direct trade source of Sumatran coffee. And I have to tell you, the coffee that I source from them is probably the best damn Sumatra coffee I have ever had in my life.
That's awesome. I have one last shout out. I want to give a shout out to Genuine Origins and our good friend Jen Hurd, who can source coffees and give us complete traceability all the way back to the farm. She's fantastic. She supplied Drop Temp with a number of amazing coffees this last year. So thank you, Jen, and thank you, Genuine Origins.
And one more shout out I have to say is thank you to Office Evolution in Hillsboro, Oregon, here to provide us a space for us to record our podcast. If you guys don't know Office Evolution, they are one of those share workspaces where you can come in and you can do work stuff. If you need to do work on a laptop, if you need to rent a conference room to host clients, anything that you could think of that is a typical office, you can do it here. And if you need to record podcasts, you could do it here. So shout out to Jennifer and her team from Office Evolution for allowing us this beautiful space for us to record.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Well, everybody, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you in the new year.
Happy holidays, everyone.